There's a direct through line from Nick Shirley and his clickbait video harassing daycare centers all the way through to the death of Renee Good. And it starts with our president. Keep in mind, there's an election year coming up in Minnesota. 2026, governor's race. Tim Walz, our current governor, was the vice presidential candidate, so we got a lot of traction and a lot of attention. And of course, our president loves to talk. He loves to talk. And so why not score some cheap political points? A headline went around about some sentencing that went down in a court case, and our big, beautiful president had this to say.
When I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes, or however many lakes they have, they got a lot of lakes, but this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off, and now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at that's good. I hear they.
So notice how he said, these people there are ripping it off. These people are ripping it off. It's an important distinction. The case that he's talking about was the Feeding Our Future pandemic era fraud scheme. There was a lot of fraud that went down during the pandemic. Under the Joe Biden administration, it was found that this massive fraud scheme was happening here in Minnesota, led by a woman named Amy Brock. Now, Amy was the ringleader of this. She had a co-defendant who was a Somali man. And because some of the people named in this case are Somalis, and it involves some Somali daycare centers and a legitimate fraud scheme that was uncovered and has been investigated for years now, he labels it Somali fraud.
They ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars.
Now that's, I mean, the fraud case was, you just saw on the screen, $250 million. But he's going to say billions because they think that there's a lot of them and they're all doing the fraud. It's kind of a stretch, isn't it?
And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country.
From here, he just goes on about how much he hates the country of Somalia, and I get it. He has his opinions about the country. But to blanket that about the immigrants that are here is kind of nuts when you consider that a lot of them have been here for decades. It's a large community. They're our neighbors. They just live here. This, of course, led to a lot of attention being drawn to the state and the community itself. And in this day and age, it's really, really good to go out and get clicks. Get your camera, go out and record things. And here we have a video by one Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley has done a lot of videos that are usually pretty clickbait. He goes out and it's a Mr. Beast style quick edit with a dash of feeling like you're doing investigative work. So Nick Shirley here goes out and he gets a man named David who works with the state GOP. That's the state Republican Party. And they get publicly available data, but only the publicly available data that shows how much these daycare centers qualify for, how much they may have gotten in grants. And they then go around and start actually going through and visiting these places. Now, this is hailed by people who don't pay attention to the topic as journalism. But what it really is, a man in a clickbait little goblin here, going around. Here you see them talking about where they're going, what they were, what the money, they label it money stolen from Minnesota, which is not already. We're just going to say something in a very specific language, very, very targeted language, and about the different fiscal years and what they qualified for. And their evidence is to go to the daycare centers and try to get them to show them the kids. Here's a little bit.
These facilities.
There are indeed no windows. All the windows are blacked out right here. All right, let's go in.
Making judgment calls about how the places look.
And the child care center is locked. Should we ring the doorbell? Try to get in, rang the doorbell. Nobody showed up. They're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. it says here on their sign, yet there's absolutely nobody here. And this building here, right here, has generated millions of dollars, and it seems like...
He says generated millions of dollars, but the information from the state shows that it is money that they qualify for, and they're awarded that money based on an actual attendance head count. Now, I'm no expert. I don't work for the state, but my mother did a home daycare system for a long time, and she was doing home daycare. All of that, like the state comes through, I believe it's at least every 6 months. They come through and they just do an inspection unannounced, and they have a checklist. All of these centers that are in this video, there is verifiable information from the state saying exactly when they visited, what kind of violations they had, what sort of corrective action was taken to do something about it. In some cases, these childcare centers had a lot of violations. Some of these childcare centers seemed like bad childcare centers. They seemed like they just sucked. I mean, that happens. That's business. You know, not every restaurant that opens is good. Not every, retail store that opens makes it. We all know about that. You see businesses go up and down. Childcare centers got to be the same. People trying to make a buck. As far as the door not being open when Nick Shitley here decided he wanted to come in and see the kids, they're not just open. They don't have a reception desk. It's not a hotel for children. These places know who's coming and when, because they have to keep track of those, especially when they run hours like this, second shift hours. They're not just going to let you in to see these kids. Here's everyone's favorite, the Quality Leering Center. Admittedly, yeah, it's an embarrassing sign mistake. They stood in this parking lot for a while. They grabbed a random dude off the street. Yeah, they grab a random dude just walking on the street. I mean, he's a guy. What does he know? I'm sure he walks around, but that's not exactly a great source of information here. Come to find out, this door that they're at is the side door. This isn't the main door. Anyway, I don't need to belabor this because I'm going to link a bunch of actual reporting about the Quality Leering Center and the inaccuracies of Nick Shitley's video here. But the point is, Nick Shirley comes in and gets this video, which admittedly has 3.5 million views in 2 weeks since it's been up. Today is January 10th. 3.5 million views just on the video. This brought a lot of extra attention. So much attention that they've surged ICE into Minneapolis. Now, keep in mind, they're surging ICE here because the president made an election year comment about fraud, a case that is being prosecuted and has been for years. Get clickbait videos that do not actually show fraud in daycare centers. I mean, the lunacy of walking up to a daycare center with at least 2 security cards and ski mask balaclavas and cameras demanding to see children, that's not going to be conclusive evidence. I was a news director for a very short time. Wouldn't consider myself the best in the game. But let me tell you, that's not how you get people to give you information, is by banging on their doors like you're Eric Andre screaming, "Let me in." That doesn't do it. And that's not how you're going to get that information. All you did was convince people who are already suspicious because they either don't know the community, don't trust people they don't know, or heard something about fraud related to the case that's being prosecuted and didn't bother to learn the details or distinctions. They just go, "Oh, Somali people, they're doing fraud," which you kind of got to admit, that's racist. There's no way around it. So they surge ICE here into the city of Minneapolis to go after this community that, mind you, is 90% U.S. citizens. 60% of them are born here, as in they were born here, like me, like probably maybe many of you watching this video were probably born here. And the other 10% are documented immigrants. Residents, got their green card, whatever the status may be, but they got their papers. So why the incursion into the state? To make headlines in an election year. What do? They go around, they start rounding people up. 2,000 agents are brought to this town of Minneapolis to go after this community that is almost entirely U.S. citizens, and they end up getting someone killed. A woman named Renee Good. It's a tragedy. It should have never happened. But there's a direct through line to Donald Trump saying that the community is full of fraud, to these clickbait videos where they just go around and harass people, to surging immigration and customs enforcement in a city full of U.S. citizens, to now the death of one Renee Good. In the aftermath of the murder of Good at the hands of that ICE agent, The Trump administration and the Department of Homeland Security immediately moved to cover it up and call it an act of domestic terrorism. I'm going to have links to the New York Times breakdown of the various videos and angles so you can see for yourself. It's pretty clear that that man's life was not in danger. And even if it was, it didn't warrant her being executed on the street. My point in all of this is not to pick sides and go left or right, because to me, this is a clear-cut issue. This is about the through line, the power of social media, clickbait, and reinforcing your own worldview. If you take one thing away from this video, I want it to be that the powers that be are not necessarily in the right here. There's more going on, and you should be able to stand up for your rights, because very soon it's going to be someone you know. It's going to be one of your neighbors or one of your loved ones. And we can't keep making excuses for federal overreach like this. Thank you for watching. This was my first attempt at recording a video like this. I just needed to document the things that were going on because it's driving me a little crazy to see everything kind of falling apart around me and not having some sane record of what's happening. I plan to post more. I plan to go more in depth. Feel free to subscribe, throw me a like, give me a comment, tell me what you liked or didn't like. And thank you. I'll see you in the future. Stay safe out there.